Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, speed gaming fans around the world, Zelda fans alike. You're tuned into Speed Gaming for one of the first few matches in the Link to the Past Randomizer League, Season 2, 2020. I am Yude Monistic, joined today by Walter. How you doing today, Walter?
Really good, dude. The league officially kicked off yesterday, but today is the first day we're gonna have all the teams getting into the pool, and it's gonna be super interesting to see how this is gonna turn out.
Well, I gotta say, it's quite a nice change of pace to be looking at this amazing layout. This is a very vibrant red, and I love it.
Yeah, all credit to the Fear Agent. I definitely dig this layout for sure.
Is it red or is it pink?
I believe it's red.
Well, anyway, our two racers today representing two different teams. AsclepiosRod representing Les French Canadians up against Dr. Mardio, hailing from the Spoilers, in that order left to right. This will be the first game for their teams, I believe, this week. Of course, if you're not familiar with the Link to the Past Randomizer League, 3 members of each team send out 2 representatives per week for one of the different game modes, 7 different weeks of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a plain old open mode for week 1. And then we're gonna pretty much gradually get into some more spicy areas after that. But if anyone watched the main tournament, I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with open at this point.
Well, we're not seeing anything too special out of the sprite selection for both of these two runners, perhaps both of them preferring to practice and play with the vanilla Link sprite. Looking at some interesting file names, AROD saying French Canadian, and Doc vs. Doc out of Dr. Martio.
Yeah, the Link sprite is very popular. I mean, there's a lot of variations for the Link sprite, just because of that reason. Like, people play NMG are used with the visual signs with the Link sprite.
It looks like we're going to get an uncle start from both of our runners simultaneously, of course. We'll potentially get to see a tier 1 tree pull. A-Rod picking up the sign to try and kill one of the guards. Dr. Mardio going to jump right towards the uncle immediately.
Yeah, a little bit surprised he didn't pick up the sign as well. He could opt to kill one of the green guards here with a pod and then go outside to do the triple if he wants to. Or he could just kill one of the green guards and then save and quit to the sanctuary and do the triple on the way over to Lost Woods potentially.
And while they are arrows, unless we happen to find a bow pretty early on, that won't be too critical. Dr. Mardio dropping the good bee from the bottle, which I find interesting, might be pointing towards not heading straight to Kakariko where you could sell it for some money.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an interesting move. There's our bow, so that's a nice progression already.
I guess tier 1 mattered. Well, A-Rod will have 20 chances to pull on the string of logic from that, whereas Dr. Mardio is going to have to actually stop at this tree ahead no matter what. We have 2 crystals I saw in the Light World at Tower of Hera and Eastern Palace. I believe there was a pendant at Desert.
I'm not sure. I only saw the Eastern one, but the Eastern one was a red crystal at least, crystal number 5. And here's the triple for Marty as well. Picking up some arrows. Gonna be needed when you have that bow now.
Bush grab today, nothing too exciting, just small magic decanters. A-Rod had an opportunity to pick up a couple along the way, not going to be too essential, but a book that could lead us back down towards Desert, found here in the middle of Lost Woods.
Yeah, interesting placement of that book. You do end up seeing a couple of runners sometimes. If you get the book here in Lost Woods, just head straight over to the pedestal right away and then route into Kakariko from that direction instead.
Looks like neither of our runners are going to take the time to check it, perhaps hoping that they never will have to be back in this direction again.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the right call. I mean, the majority of all the seeds you play are not going to be pedestal seeds, so most of the times it would actually be a waste of time to be walking over there.
I'd say though, I definitely would be feeling the temptation. You get it right there; it's like the best time to get it if you're gonna check it.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't check it now, then probably won't check it for quite a while.
Well, on the way down to Blindside, A-Rod actually has a bomb at his disposal, and will actually get rewarded with 3 more, so that allows for full completion of Kakariko.
Yeah, and Marty not having the bombs going into Kakariko is gonna do Kakariko well first, just in case there is bombs here. But if there isn't any bombs here, this is faster to double dip than Blindside. And there wasn't any bombs, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Does have the money to buy some. Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering if AsclepiosRod will remember to sell the bee, as that would be enough to get the bottle vendor and potentially buy more bombs if desired.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat way of using the bee early on. We did see a glove there in the back of the dam, or not the back of the dam, the back of the Kakariko well, so Dr. Martyr is definitely going to want to go back for that one. We also have our flute in the back of Tavern, so that's a nice early movement item to have.
And it's an appropriate place to be playing a tune, so the band in the back actually going to get us down to South Shore quite quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
more irritation bombs to receive for Dr. Mardio. A-Rod actually not having to purchase any bombs will probably feel rewarded for having routed the way he did.
Yeah, it always ends up like that, right? When you don't get any bombs, then of course all the bombs ends up being locked behind the other bombs.
Well, with Sick Kid practicing his fletchery, sure seems like the seed wants to give us a lot of arrows to work with, and appropriately so. That is our only real weapon at the moment.
Yeah, that bow is definitely gonna come in useful. If they end up going to South Shore, they can use it there, but I could also take it and head over to Eastern as well, where potentially our first crystal might be waiting for us.
Yeah, with that flute, a lot of options available, and the glove allows us to double back on a few places. Back of Escape is something that we could actually go to if we wanted to save and quit at some point, although with the flute, it's kind of hard to imagine going back to the Sanctuary quickly. When we finally get bombs purchased from A-Rod on the way out of the village, heading towards the library, Dr. Mardio retreading previous steps just to make sure we're getting everything, which ended up being important, wouldn't have the glove otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to leave something in Sphere 1 that early on. That was a really fast library check. I didn't really catch what that was.
We were having some explosive bits of knowledge.
Okay. That's the forbidden
and some
section.
Cash. Exactly. It's the one part of Hogwarts you're not supposed to be checking. But we will probably not be accidentally bonking into any bookshelves and awakening any cursed literature.
Yeah, probably not. We did get an early shovel though, so nice to be able to route this in as your end part of Kakariko. More arrows. Well, don't really need more than 30. Did I get a couple of boots though? That seems pretty useful.
Now, it's an interesting assumption you're making that you're getting 2 boots out of this. I only see 1.
Yeah, well, I'm just always assuming it's a pair of boots. Would be kind of funny though to see Link be skipping over with just 1 boot on.
Wow, well, your immediate upgrade to the dash just underneath the water. Wow, you really couldn't expect any better combo than that.
Yeah, no. The boots and the sword, that's a pretty iconic duo there.
Well, for those of you who like to track bonks, we're already on the board for Dr. Mardio, and I have to imagine that there are going to be quite a few more having it this early.
It's interesting, like the way Marty ended up riding Kakariko, since he didn't get any bombs. He ended at the top of Kakariko and then just skipped the library and all that. So if he doesn't go back and check that, I doubt he won't check that ever. But if it doesn't, then it's not really going to hurt him, since none of that was anything required.
I mean, in fact, he's even ahead at this point with the Fire Rod and Titan's Mitts. Presuming that is the case, like you mentioned, would have a bit of a time advantage over A-Rod, despite, as you mentioned, having to double back on stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Mark.
The Minimolar Cave was pretty good with getting our second pair of gloves and also the Fire Rod. The Fire Rod does put Eastern Palace in logic as long as the big key is not vanilla, so Dr. Marty is just going to go for it.
Yeah, we can currently access the Dark World, but we don't have a Moon Pearl to actually do anything in it. Well, it's an Ice Rod cave that we might not see for a while from Dr. Mardio. A-Rod being very clear to make sure the bottom right corner of Hyrule is taken care of. We're also going to get a water walk. We saw a setup as he dashed and murdered every single crab out in the field. Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, by dashing a bit, he can jump down, and the game thinks that he should be running right now.
Yeah, you might as well take the opportunity when you're over there. He is gonna head over. Oh, there's our lamp locked by the flippers and the mirror, and he is gonna head over to the hobos. I wouldn't be too surprised to see him just saving quid out of here, which is most of the times when people water walk out of there, they either go to the waterfall ferry first or head over to hobo and save quid from there, which he is gonna do. We did get a sword. Getting a second sword is pretty nice to have, especially if we have Dark World access soon.
Yeah, not only is the sword just an awesome upgrade to have at this point in the race to begin with, the Fire Source Scout, the Lamp Scout on Lake Hylia Island can tell you a lot about the logic of the game and which dark rooms you should be able to access, since you know you have the Fire Rod early. We'll see if Dr. Mardio sees it soon enough to potentially learn something from it.
Oh, okay, there's another sword. So we're kind of good on swords for A-Rod at the moment. If he gets the gold sword, I'm sure he won't be sad, but he probably don't feel the need to really get that. Definitely really good runners, both of these. They would do fine without it.
I'd be so happy to see it here.
That would be crazy.
Like, just the perfect sequence, just God visioning all the way through to the last sword upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, a sword made of gold would be pretty fitting in a Tomb for a King, right?
Yeah, and it certainly carries a lot of cash normally. Or no, I'm sorry, a cape.
That cape was probably super expensive, so it's kind of the same thing.
Well, the back of the escape, not the cape, but will be a medallion, an ether at that. I believe we saw Quake on Dr. Mardio's side as well at some point earlier in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, so that's 2 of our medallions so far. Oh, interesting. Marty going for the middle torch here in this room. Rarely see that. That's kind of cool.
Normally there's enemies in the way, right?
Yeah, it looked like he just shot 3 in a row or something like that. And take out the enemies first and then hit the torch.
Well, an inventive setup, and it works for him. Dr. Mardio having some really rude RNG. But emerges not too scathed. Will be able to get a sword spin into the Armos fight. Hopefully be able to nail 4 quick arrows here. 4 quick arrows here.
But this being the first dungeon, the real test dungeon here in the vanilla game, the enemies don't deal too much damage. But with it being the first dungeon, sometimes you come here pretty low percent as well. So sometimes you need to be a little bit careful.
Well, and perfectly acceptable Armos fight out of Dr. Mardio. Unfortunately, the quarter heart that he received did not save frames by healing him, but you can't predict that.
Yeah. But he did pick up his first crystal as A-Rod is heading in here, gonna try and do the same.
A-Rod holding on to the B, perhaps wanting some company throughout the rest of this dungeon.
Never know when you're gonna need a good bee. But we still don't have any clear goal for Dark World access here. A Moon Pearl would change that, but we would have to find it first. Desert is probably one of the more suspicious places to find it right now.
And we may have missed it on the way in to Eastern Palace as A-Rod took a different route to get there. But we did have Powder in the back of Sahasvilla's hut, and he also informed us that Ice Palace is our green pendant. It looks like Dr. Mardio is going to do the initial checks that we talked about before. Of course, being Sphere, 0 checks, I mean, you definitely do want to check these anyway, but...
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And if this were to like end up being the Moon Pearl or something, he could just like head straight into the Dark World from here. It's not going to be the case though, so... I think actually the only thing we have in logic is like one shake up on the mountain and then it's the desert area.
Yeah, despite having the means to fully clear desert, both of our runners have been putting it off quite a bit. Understandably so, a lot of people do want to avoid desert, although I think if you have boots and a fire source and lift upgrades, it looks appealing to me personally.
Did take a save and quit there after the bottle vendor, so that kind of probably means he's going to check the boost locations and the back of escape here as well that A-Rod did earlier. So he's going to pick up his Master Sword and that Ether Medallion. Or, well, maybe we're going to have to wait a little bit for that sword.
Yeah, opting to go straight to King's Tomb, perhaps wanting to carry the route further west from here. Wanting to get the furthest east check first. We'll see in a moment.
The only awkward moment with that is then he will be passing up back of escape here and would have to return once again to get there.
Yeah, jury's out still if we'll end up needing that Ether Medallion, but we definitely want to have them, and that's definitely a check that would be easy to forget later.
Oh, and correction, actually, I said except for the mountain. And the only thing we had was desert. We actually haven't seen the front of escape yet as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's several checks that both of our runners still have available on the table. We got to see the bottom right torch here in the back dark room that A-Rod was going through right there, kind of the more traditional strat. Both runners pulling it off effectively. Looks like it's going to be a good Eastern Palace for A-Rod as well. Mostly. Definitely nicer RNG.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what would random be without a little bit of RNG, right?
Interesting choice to pick up extra arrows as well, because you'll definitely want them in desert, even though you can pick up some extra ones. So I think A-Rod making a good safety choice there.
Yeah, hoping for the best, but planning for the worst is usually a good strategy when it comes to playing these random seeds.
Well, at the same time, I believe, or at the same time as A-Rod gets his first crystal, I believe we're looking at Old Man check here for Dr. Mardio.
Yeah, this one we know is not on logic until we have Dark World access. It's not going to be our Moon Pearl, but it could still be something, and just ended up being a piece of heart, though. A little bit of a divergence here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, exactly the same thing. Heading to desert looks like for A-Rod.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Marty's follow that after the mountain trip here. We did see that the ledge of desert had nothing, but we still have 2 items in here and Agina outside as well.
So it's hard to kind of pick what we think the next thing would be. I mean, I almost feel like a mirror would be nice. Gosh, I don't even know. Moon Pearl, I would have to presume, but...
Yeah, Moon Pearl seems likely. A mirror would definitely be nice before you get Dark World access. Potentially a hammer as well, because doing a Dark World without a hammer can be quite inconvenient sometimes.
So I'm trying to think, which sword did Dr. Mario miss?
He didn't get the Hobo one, which is not in logic yet.
Right.
Because A-Rod did that water walking. But there's her flippers, so okay. That sort of isn't logic all of a sudden.
Which means that Dr. Mario is pretty likely to check after this. That would also give his Waterfall Cave and Zora Ledge items, so there's a chance our Moon Pearl's up in the northeast corner.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, both are running. Oh, well, there's the Moon Pearl. So 2 progressive items that we definitely need in desert.
Well, speak of the Pearl and it shall arrive, that does give us the most important thing here, but we could still finish the dungeon.
Yeah, it is a pendant though, and we got both items, so it would be a little bit questionable to finish it, to be honest. Looks like A-Rod is just taking the exit so he can check Agina instead.
Perhaps sensing that we had suggested the possibility, but Agina's Cave definitely something that you don't want to miss on this pass there.
This is actually a moment where that potential really early ped check could have played in, because if it ends up being a pedestal seed, they could have used to complete the dungeon right away. Then again, like as long as they get the mirror, like that would have always been fast to go back to later on as well.
Well, it would seem in a strange bit of routing, it looks like A-Rod may have missed the flippers entirely, never checking the torch in desert, which could be pretty costly later on. We do know that Ice Palace is green pendant, but that doesn't say anything about Swamp yet.
Well, Swamp is a crystal. Looked like our second 5/6 crystal, I think, was Skullwoods, and we had a pendant on Tartarok, and we already knew our green pendant. Oh, the 5/6 crystal was in Thieves Town. But yeah, skipping those flippers, that could hurt a lot for sure.
Now, I think the worst possible case scenario is if those flippers end up blocking something important for something else as well, say like Canis Samaria, or any other like essential item that we're definitely going to need, maybe like a mirror. That would end up being a big pain for A-Rod for the rest of the seed.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is, like, the only reason you would really skip the torch at that point would probably be because you think you have both items. And if that's the scenario, then Dr. Marty is not really going to have any reason to go back there. We did see a hookshot though, that's nice, at least.
Yeah, with that find, Dr. Mario will be able to pull ahead a little bit further. Skullwood's not having yielded really much of anything just yet. However, A-Rod has avoided key locking, so certainly good routing overall. Well, that's A-Rod heading towards the back half. Of course, we have the Fire Rod, so this is a completable dungeon. Unfortunately, no mirror to check the pedestal afterwards if we wanted to. Currently not a ton of candidates that can fit there. In fact, a Bombos required medallion, maybe. That's about all I can imagine.
Yeah, that and I suppose the mirror could be there as well.
Which would be like the worst feeling thing, because like, hey, I did Skull Woods, had a chance, couldn't do it.
Yeah, for sure. But we're definitely very far away from that being something we have to worry about at this point.
Absolutely, Dr. Mardio stopping for almost nothing. Unfortunately, some unfriendly RNG and a slight misplacement gonna make the Hellway a bit more like its namesake.
Yeah, I was about to say, got its name for a reason. But Dr. Marty is gonna do the entire dungeon here. There is the a little bit of scary moment of an item being in the big chest. We don't have the small key yet though, so the small key would have to be in blind cell for that to be a possibility.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, you can never find that small key on the boss, right?
Exactly. You cannot find it on the boss or in the addict because that could produce key locks. AROD doing a tempered sword spin there, which unfortunately doesn't actually work on Mothula. But it does glitch out the fight though with just half a heart left.
Yeah, definitely a clench moment. AROD pulling it out. I mean, that could even be a quarter heart for all we know, since the game doesn't really display it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, actually, well, with blue mail. I don't know, the math's kind of weird. I'm not a math major myself.
Yeah, I don't think there's any enemies in that dungeon that does a quarter heart, so probably it was half a heart, I would imagine.
Well, regardless of the health refill, gonna head all the way back through, as there is one more chest, and I believe we have recovered every dungeon item. Except for that big key.
Yeah, so it's gonna be in the big chest instead. This is the moment where he probably wish he had half a heart so he just could take a quick death warp instead.
And that's blind down for Dr. Mardio, going to have a full clear of this dungeon as the small key is locked behind itself, it appears.
Yeah, really solid fight there with the script, and very nice to not isolating any items in here.
Alright,
So
well,
looks
we're gonna
like
get
we're
big
gonna.
chest here.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it looks like we might be able to switch places here soon. Marty heading up towards Skullwood's. Gonna check the bumper cave here first. Oh, and there's our mirror. Okay, well, that's kind of awkward. But it's also nice.
And we'll not go and check that pedestal to the chagrin of Chad, I'm sure. Although it would not have made sense to do that in the front half anyway.
Yeah, like at that point you're already so far away, so it's like, do you really want to do that?
Well, I find it really funny that AROD's gonna actually do the same checks we just saw from Dr. Mardio, perhaps mirroring the same routing, just in reverse. But we'll actually check the lumberjack ledge here in the process.
Yeah, and he now knows he doesn't have to worry about that. We also now know that the lamp is in logic, so every dark room is now in logic as well. Well, as long as we can get to them. So for example, everything in pod would now be in logic, which is another crystal that we could fully complete.
Yeah, so unless we've got a sequence break to cross the river with, say, a bomb jump into fake flippers, A-Rod not really going to have an easy way to get over to the right side.
Wasn't A-Rod the one who got the flippers? Or was it Marty
He
who
was the one
didn't
who
get them?
skipped.
Oh, okay. My bad. For some reason, I was thinking it was Marty who skipped them.
Well, our graveyard ledge not going to produce anything of importance or value, but the northern Hyrule checks and Dark World checks are complete, so that's an entire section of the world we'll not have to return to. Tactical getting grabbed for Dr. Mardio, returning to the exit. I'm going to continue on towards boss, of course.
Yeah, that's a nice showcase of using the dangerous and disruptive elements to your favor.
Well, AsclepiosRod not going to get too attached to the northern Dark World once he finds that hookshot, going to actually continue southwards towards the Bombable Hut and probably Dig Game afterwards. We'll have the option to do the entire Smith chain, actually.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, especially since he went up to the north first, then just going full south after that. I think that would make a lot of sense. Only thing we really would be skipping would be the hammer pegs, but can't get everything, right?
Or potentially you can. It's very easy for us commentators to get proven wrong in this way.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, one way you could...
I'm gonna take your word for it, though. It seems likely.
Yeah, I mean, one way you could do it is to not do the backup Thieves Town right away, since you don't have the hammer as well. So that way you could always do hammer pegs when you come back for Thieves Town.
Yeah, you'd be able to chain the logic together. So, I mean, that's one thing that a lot of people kind of, tertiary to rando don't really necessarily realize about these routing choices is you kind of want to be able to think about all the things you can do with an item all at once and route efficiently within that. So as you mentioned, grouping together hammer checks might be a rewarding way to approach this dungeon.
Yeah, for sure. Being efficient in your routing might actually be one of the most important aspects of rando, especially if it ends up being like a long, drawn-out seed. Martin, not having the tempered sword, decided to do a couple of spins and then using the fire rod as well, and then just ending it with a slash there. Really well done.
Well, being that a sword spin does elevate it up one damage class in terms of the sword damage, it's effectively a tempered swing. And of course, as you mentioned before, sword spins with tempered don't work because they're treated like gold, which in the original game is bugged out because it shared the same damage class as spikes.
Yeah, they patched the gold sword, but they never patched the spin from the tempered. So tempered spins still deal 0. Well, you can use the gold sword even though.
And good knowledge from Dr. Mardio to exploit the best damage you can get out of the Master Sword, though. That was a good fight. Well, we'll get our first look at the Eastern Death Mountain as Dr. Mardio heads that way while we see what our blacksmith/frog friend is cooking up for us back in his house.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff we can get over here. Also, I think that Marty never picked up his mirror in Skullwoods, though.
That is correct, I believe.
So now we both have items in different dungeons that both runners have left behind. Actually, both of which are required for the same dungeon.
Yeah, it's different implications, but interesting implications. Dr. Mardio actually potentially losing a lot of time not having that mirror, and may end up delaying Swamp Palace about as long as AsclepiosRod will.
Yeah, I mean, we can see impacts of that here already. He's gonna pretty much be forced to route Death Mountain in a certain way without that mirror, and he's also not going to be able to go over to Hera and do that dungeon, including the tablet outside of it as well.
So flips on Desert Torch and mirror in Skullwood's big chest. Exciting implications for both of these two. Both pretty accessible locations, just probably not coming back to them until we've completed or exhausted all of the dense locations.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely good news if you're an A-Rod fan or just a French-Canadian team fan here overall. That definitely gives them a good out here to pretty much level the playing field a bit here.
Yeah, for those of you who are tuning in late to this race, this is not your typical randomizer tournament match. This is actually a league match. So these two runners are representing their own teams of three. And while I was giving that bit of a rant, A-Rod picking up another bottle with a fairy in it, which is an interesting safety for the rest of this race.
Yeah, definitely doesn't hurt to grab one of those. We don't have too many hearts, but we do have blue mail. But even still, if you can get a couple of safeties for free like that, you might as well use them to your advantage.
The natural conclusion of this route being a big 20, it feels appropriate, but A-Rod managing to get everything in this path, which is definitely a nice feeling. Will not be able to do Swamp, which would have been completable if we had not missed this here with the flippers in Desert.
Well, it wouldn't be completable yet because we're still missing out on that important hammer.
Oh, good point.
But it's probably used here in Hype Cave anyways, right?
I was just thinking about it.
Well, that's something that we definitely need, so that's a good start. And there's our last sword as well.
Well, A-Rod equipped for an adventure with his 4 swords. We'll be able to continue. Well, gosh, where's he going to go from here?
That's an interesting question. He might actually decide to head up to the mountain as well, because that's the most item-dense area for him, at least.
Yeah, so he hasn't seen the east side of Death Mountain. Of course, with the mirror, has the option to get a lot of things very efficiently.
Mm-hmm. So we did see that Turtle Rock required bombos, but we don't really need to worry about that too much. I mean, honestly, that might be good for us because it's a pendant, but we don't know which medallion Mr. Myers required yet. So if it's bombos, we're only missing bombos and hammer for a collective go mode at this point. But we do have these 2 items hiding out, but it looks like Marta is going to head back and grab that mirror, so that's a major development here. It's definitely going to put him in a good advantage.
Yeah, I could not have done this at a more appropriate time. The longer you go without that mirror, the harder your routing gets. So Mardio getting a really awesome boost towards his chances of winning this race.
Yeah, probably going to be kicking himself a little bit since he was just up on the mountain, but he's going to head back up again. Going to Hera now that you have the mirror is not too bad. If that would have been the hammer, that would have been a bit more costly because he would have gone all the way around, but now you can just take the shortcut up here.
Well, as our runners make their way towards Hera, I find it very surprising that neither of them been to the Mire area, as that is accessible and has been for quite a while.
Yeah. Big question mark is going to be when A-Rod gets there, if he mirrors and head back into Desert Palace. That could be a make or break moment for him in this race.
Well, speaking of make or break moments, more of a make or break movement to try and get this Herapod looking like he's trying to pause buffer his way into the right position. Of course, we only need to clip ourselves 1 pixel into the actual pot in order to hookshot the center of it and pull ourselves in.
Yeah, it's crazy how many different bomb setups we've seen for this trick. so far. There's also the possibility of actually doing it without bombs at all, if you have the boots, which both runners have. But that's more of a preference when it comes to doing that glitch that way, I think. Me personally, I can only do it with the boots. I'm very impressed with all of these bomb tricks.
Well, A-Rod showing us some very quick completion of the upstairs, whereas Dr. Mardio actually getting a much faster hera pot, which will save him more time over A-Rod. Neither of them picking up that big key from the basement will not need it.
A-Rod almost dashing out of the arena here, but then he's taking 2 quick slashes to take care of Moldorm.
Well, that looked like a perfectly fine hera from both of our owners. Hopefully, Dr. Mardio having a good recovery on his bumper skip, actually. Was a bit too far south. Hopefully having a good Moldorm fight as well. Master Sword, a pretty comfortable fight as well.
Yeah, triple spins would be enough here. You definitely don't want to use the slashes, though, because the Master Sword kind of works a little bit weird against some of the Light World bosses and a couple of other enemies as well, so it doesn't deal as much damage as it should do. But even though it did get a poke there and got the fast phase of Moldorm, really good recovery from Dr. Marty.
I was really impressed to see that hookshot usage. Very uncommonly seen weapon in the fight. The iframes do allow you to just simply have Moldorm phase through you. So very uncommon boss tech, and really excited to see at this level.
Yeah, for sure. Both of them are gonna skip that Big Chest, which I do believe has an item, which is pretty much like I would say most runners would do that in this scenario. We do need Quake for Meyer, so that is fully completable at the moment. Not for Marty though, because he has not picked up that Kino Samaria from Hype Kid yet.
Well, Meyer area coming up, ironically, a bit dry so far. We'll have the opportunity to head to a more literally dry place, the desert, via Mirror to get that checkerboard cave. And if nothing's here, Dr. Mardio, not sure where he's going to go next. Hopefully Hype Cave. I mean, that would be the ideal window to getting your Cane of Samaria and making choices based off of that.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. Because not only do you have the Hype Cave, you have other items on the way as well. And you do have the flippers, so you can use to complete your trip over to the East Dark World after that as well.
You know, I think we might be in the territory of finding a hammer in the first chest of swamp.
Oof. I mean, that would be kind of terrible, but at the same time, hammer would be their go mode at least. So you would still be able to skip some large portions of the game.
Here's a mind bender. Is it possible for this hammer to be in the pyramid?
Let's see. No, because the 5-6 crystal is Thieves Town, and the way the key ended up being means that blind is hammer locked. You need a small key in order. Yeah, you need a small key in order for blind to be in logic without the hammer.
Well, in that case, it does narrow some of the crazier possible scenarios. There have been in recorded history some examples of hammer being in a nasty place like that. But as you mentioned, the logical implications of 100% accessibility, important to remember.
Yeah, I would be 0% surprised if this hammer ends up being in pod, because it just seems like it likes to hang out there a bit.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that we do have access to that lamp, meaning that if we wanted to, even without flipper, or not without, no, never mind, we would just take the flippers across the northern Dark World, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Or through the south part here as well, you can swim over.
Yeah, up the river, good point.
And I did say earlier that we had pod fully completable, which was actually not true because we don't have that hammer yet. Just like assume at this point that runners have hammer because most of the times you get it before you even get Dark World access.
Yeah, let alone as far throughout the Dark World as we've been in this short 43 minutes. Well, Dr. Mario has bombs equipped heading towards the...
Oh, he's gonna check the first chest of his... Oh, never mind. I think he's gonna go for the Bombos tablet. But potentially, he might check the first check of Swamp as well, because this would be his one opportunity to do so. If he doesn't do it now, it's pretty much guaranteeing him as a last location. And A-Rod heading back into Hera to check that big chest. So maybe that's a good sign that he will head back to Desert to check one item as well.
Well, here comes that big key, as you mentioned, at the bottom of Tower of Hera. There is that big chest, and A-Rod's not going to leave that behind, as Dr. Mario's going to take some advantage of having a lot of money. We haven't seen Zora either, or Waterfall Cave. We'll take advantage to get a potion, so that could be having been dearly departed for quite a while, apparently for this purpose.
Yeah, it looks like he is gonna go into Mr. Meyer, which is another place our hammer could be. It's gonna have to do this without the lamp. Was so close of getting it, but gonna have to deal without it. So that potion might help. The dark rooms here can be a little bit treacherous sometimes.
Yeah, I would rate the basement of Mr. Meyer to be one of the more challenging dark sequences. Like, definitely up there at the top in my consideration personally.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, especially in terms of learning the dark rooms from the get-go. I think that dark room is probably at the top of most people's list.
Well, Dr. Mario putting on display why sword beams are so important in Meyer 2, despite getting really awful RNG from the Popos, still managing to one-cycle the Wizrobes, an important part of doing that room quick.
We also managed to get an encore of the Herapod here. Triple Herapods in 2 seeds. Don't see that every time.
Yeah, there were not any messed up Herapods, and for as difficult or as precise as that trick. Whew, speaking of those combos from earlier.
Oof. Okay. Well, we know Hammer cannot be in what's it called? Turtle Rocks. So that's
Right.
might actually end up being bad. And there is the hammer in Meyer for Dr. Marty. So this is actually go mode for him right now. And A-Rod, if he mirrors here and gets the... Oh, is he doing it? He's doing it! Okay, so he's gonna get the flippers probably. Or maybe he's just thinking about the Meyer shot here and taking out the mirror to erase some blocks, but hopefully he ends up going into Desert Palace as well and get those flippers and then get his hammer. Because then we will have both runners in go mode, and it will be super tight to see who's going to finish out first here.
Yeah, judging by the pump fake on the way into Meyer Shed, this looked like the apparent choice that AsclepiosRod was going to make.
Yeah,
so we'll be able to get those flippers. That's good.
Yeah, that's really good news. I would definitely say that Marty is in a bit of an advantage. His darkroom is he doesn't have the knowledge of the lamp, but at this point, I think A-Rod might not even pick up the lamp as well.
Yeah, its utility to us is shrinking dramatically. If both of these runners feel good with a dark Mystery Meyer, then there's no reason to go pick it up, honestly.
Yeah, but the one thing that's really puts Marty ahead is that he has finished Feast Time as well, which is something that A-Rod is gonna have to go back to.
Now, it's not the longest dungeon ever, but it is the longest stretch of that dungeon, and that is a pretty hefty time chunk, particularly just running back to it and going back through the motions. So, yeah, that's a pretty decent chunk of time.
Oh, and he's not heading into... He's going to go for I'm not even sure what he's gonna do here. Oh, he did he never get the item from the smith? That's crazy.
It was a fully calculated move to set the RNG with his rupees being 777. Did not see. Oh, because he doesn't have the hammer yet, he can't actually do the magic bat unless he takes a portal over.
Yeah, I thought he was going for the powder, just forgetting that he didn't have the hammer yet.
Seeing reports in chat that the reason he never picked it up is he didn't have the 10 rupees to pay the blacksmith in the first place.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something you don't see coming up too often. So,
well, I love to
ALTTTPR
see
actually finished. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just loving the damage boost strats out of Dr. Mardio. Unfortunately, not a zero cycle, but still nice to see.
Yeah, really well done. Just using the game mechanics in your favor here. Like normally that goo is supposed to keep you away and make the fight harder, but Dr. Marty is just using it to his advantage and make the fight a bit easier instead.
Well, speaking of easy fighting, AsclepiosRod with the butter sword really cutting through everything here in Thieves Town, so we'll actually get a God Pixel dash and survives through the entire room. Not a gigantic time save over Dr. Mardio, but every little bit counts at this point.
Yeah, for sure. You take every little bit you can get.
I believe we are seeing the makings of a Swamp Palace. Well, Go Mode Swamp Palace for Dr. Mardio coming up ahead.
Yeah, and after that he only needs to do pod and he would have all the 7 crystals to enter Ganon's tower. So good news for AROD is that he is at least not wasting too much time here. He's gonna have to do Feast Town sooner or later anyways, and doing it this way around, it doesn't really cost him too much time because both of the chests that he's opening are right next to where he needs to go anyways. But the big question after this is where does it go? Because Maya really needs to be his direction in order to be able to almost stand a chance at this point.
And I feel like Meyer's reasonably appealing. Maybe wanted to make sure that there wasn't like, you know, some hammer or something else hidden here in the back of Thieves Town just to be safe.
Yeah.
I think both of our runners have been dreading the possibility of Palace of Darkness for quite a while, and it just so happened to work out for Dr. Mardio that he found that hammer earlier.
Yeah, for AROD, it's not really been a logic until he found those flippers, but now he actually does have them. There might be a possibility he ends up going there instead.
I will say the story of this seed for both of these runners is leaving behind an item and miraculously coming back for it at the right time, as both of them could have had a much, much longer experience through this, and it's turning into quite a fast race overall. Down goes Blind, and AsclepiosRod will be moving on to 4 total crystals at 51 minutes. Gosh, is that about to be number 6 for Dr. Mardio?
Soon enough, yes. It's definitely been a fast seed so far. And we don't really see any signs of that stopping at this point. But AROD heading towards a graveyard ledge here. At that point, he might be very tempted to just head over to pod as well. And actually, he's not even gonna check graveyard ledge. Did he do that already?
One of the 2 of them did.
Okay. So he's gonna head over to Catfish instead, and then maybe, well, he's probably gonna mirror there and do the sword check, so that might be a good opportunity for him to save and quit. Or he might swim out and head down the pod since he's already in this area, and it's kind of awkward to get back here without the hammer.
Definitely a sound decision to head up to this direction, though. I mean, if it weren't for having mirror and flippers already, this would feel kind of awkward. But being able to do all of these things at once, definitely a great convenience.
Yeah, that's definitely efficient for sure.
Well, looks like we'll get a 1, maybe 2 cycle out of the Argus fight for Dr. Mardio, Tempered Sword, and Fire Rod for the second phase. Great spin to do that in 1 cycle in the second phase. Well, 6 explosives to fill that cave. AsclepiosRod probably not liking this decision as of yet. We'll see a full heart container on the Zora ledge and is about to deposit 500 rupees into something I assure you is not worth that much.
Yeah, like best case scenario would be like silvers maybe, but even then that's not what he's looking for.
I mean, it is the best Marine.
Yeah, I was about to say you said something he doesn't want, but I'm sure everyone in chat probably agrees with that, right?
Man, you know what I don't want? Lag frames. And you know what he doesn't have? Lag frames.
Personally, I actually don't really care what color the boomerang has, as long as it just stays in the menu. That's its main function, is to just make your menuing better.
Legend says that Nintendo programmers decided the color red has more sparkles.
So Aero did keep the portal, and is a pretty clear sign of him heading down towards the pyramid and then into Palace of Darkness, which is quite unfortunate at this point.
Yeah, he definitely foretold it, though. Definitely the full route back, but I mean, as we saw before from both runners, they both seem to have a propensity to maximum clear an area of the overworld when they do it, and have both made some calculated decisions to leave out individual checks that are quick to get back to.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a sound decision for A-Rod, to be honest. It's just we know it's not going to pay off.
Well, more hearts at 13, not something that AsclepiosRod is going to stop for, but will be ending up actually in the front half of Escape, another part of the world that we haven't actually seen yet.
Yeah, it's going to keep using that mirror for efficient routing, just being able to pair Dark World and Light World together. So, like, in that sense, it's really smart routing.
Well, in the meantime, Dr. Mardio making very quick work of Palace of Darkness. Really just short. I don't think we have a big key yet, but short another small key in order to get to the basement. There's the key we're looking for. Do we have key number 2 behind this door?
Well, let's find out. Well, kind of, but
Not
the
the
wrong
second
key,
key I was thinking of. Maybe I should have specified key type 2.
Yeah, might be for the better. Well, it could always be vanilla, unless we already got an item, because we're not going to the big key chest. I mean, to be honest, the only thing he's really looking for is the big key. So even if that's not guaranteed to be a small key, going to the back first might not be bad, because most of the times you want to find the big key before you go to the back, so you don't isolate that big chest. But Dr. Mardio is not really going to care about the big chest at all. He only needs the big key, and he cannot be in that chest.
Well, wisely making use of the fire rod to make this much quicker and much simpler to do. A pair of keys will give Dr. Mardio all the doors remaining that he needs to open. Meanwhile, the front of Escape bearing nothing will push AsclepiosRod towards Palace of Darkness himself, with a lot more restrictions, not having that hammer. Or perhaps going to grab the lamp.
Yeah, I mean, this could be this could have been weighing on A-Rod's mind as well. I'm not sure how comfortable they are with the dark rooms, and if Meyer dark room is something they're not comfortable with, then doing this routing and making sure you have that lamp before you go there definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's an important distinction to make. Per runner, I mean, sure, the optimal strats of a certain type are great, but if your best attempts at a certain strat that, intentionally waste time, like picking up a lamp your opponent might not pick up, but if it's faster for you to do it with the lamp than to take the time to get the lamp, you got to make the decision based on which is going to be faster overall.
Yeah, speaking of dark rooms, we see Marty going through a couple of them right here. Well, I mean, technically we don't really see it, but we're about to see him soon because there's a couple of torches in this next room that we can light up, and definitely helps out to make the kills on these turtles a lot easier.
It kind of destroys my psyche to think about how people can actually do that fully dark. Well, that's all Dr. Mario will need in order to get to the boss. We'll smash a couple turtles in the darkness to go fight a much larger turtle of sorts, a Helmasaur King himself. Just 17 quick smacks in the face with that hammer and an assortment of weapon options, probably an tempered sword for the last phase, but could hammer instead.
Yeah, if I came home with a turtle looking like that, I would go back to the pet shop right away and be like, something is wrong with this one. But that was a really quick fight, and that means we got 7 crystals. What happens when we have 7 crystals? Is there something special that happens then?
I hear you go fight a big pig after doing some math exam, but there is a guessing game that we like to play in chat. I'm sure somebody's got the command primed. There are 22 locations in Ganon's Tower in which you can find the big key, which is essential for completing it. Dr. Mario, of course, on his way there, giving us a short window for us to get our guesses into chat. A fun game we like to play. Walter, where do you think we're going to find that chest today?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm really bad at this guessing game, but we had a really fast seed so far. Marty, on his way up to Ganon's Tower, only 1 hour into the seed, so I'm gonna guess something early, maybe number 2. What do you think?
Well, that's a bold prediction. I'm gonna go with 8 today. I don't know why.
I mean, it's a random game, so a random pick makes sense to me.
Walter, my least favorite part about this game on the commentary side is I always forget to put it in chat.
Yeah, I don't even bother because I'm never right anyways.
Well, the good news is that the new and improved version of this game also gives you some points if you guessed it right, but not first. So go ahead and throw your guesses in, folks, even if you feel like all the numbers have been taken. Probably have been, but you can still chip in if you get it right. Dr. Mario, though, as you mentioned, an hour in heading towards Ganon's Tower. This is a remarkably quick open seed.
Yeah, we had a couple of pretty fast finishing times yesterday in the kickoff games, but this is definitely looking to blow that out of the water.
Well, there's a big key for A-Rod, still missing that hammer, so will full complete everything they possibly can do. Thankfully, with the lamp, it's not that slow of a check, although either way, you are investing some time here. Even worse so much as being a double dip. Well, we have closed the guesses. Those of you in chat, I hope you'll count along with us because I'm likely to forget.
Well, it's not number 2, so I called it. There's a silvers in the big chest of pod. That's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, while it does represent some time save, it is quite the gap and probably insurmountable unless something were to go catastrophically wrong for Dr. Mario. This is by anyone's measure, a really impressive run.
Yeah, for sure. This is looking to be a great start for the Spoilers team, or the Spoilers as they're called. Every team play each other twice each week, though, so we will have another French Canadian versus the Spoilers later on this week as well.
Yeah, and if you're looking for more information on the rest of the Link to the Past Randomizer League, you can actually find the whole thing on a website called ALTTPR showing all of the rosters, all the schedules, giving you a sense of the entire bracket. Looks like there is a link in chat, actually, through the !League command, so if you're in any other races, want to get that link up quickly. Great way to reference who's actually playing, as you only get to see 2 racers at a time in these restreams. For a little bit of the behind-the-scenes kind of knowledge for the audience, both these teams are picking their representatives, so these were not pre-scheduled matches. They decided who was going to race each other, and there's a bit of strategy involved with that. You only have 2 of your 3 teammates actually race per week. Walther, do you know where we are in the count? I completely forgot.
More than 5. Let me count real. Okay, so there, I'm pretty sure someone in chat knows which number we got. 11. 11 sounds kind of right. Looks like everyone is saying 11, so I'm inclined to believe that.
Well, congratulations, John Boy 81918. You have successfully been the first to guess 11. Enjoy your points on the leaderboard. Time for that climb up to the top of GT. Dr. Mario going to put on display for us some regular aero strats through the Mimic Room. Mimic clipping being an option if you really wanted to be flashy for no reason. Much slower to do it. But that is something that you can do in this tournament. You may end up seeing some runners do so if they think they can skip a bow somehow. Other than that, we expect a pretty uneventful climb.
Yeah, I mean, we have pretty much most of the things we would really want to need. We don't have the silvers, but with the tempered sword, the silvers are not too much of a big deal. The last phase of Ganon will be a little bit slower, but I'm pretty sure Dr. Marty is quite comfortable with the silverless phase.
Well, it's interesting as he passes through Ganon Ball Z, one of my favorite rooms in GT, skipping the refill opportunity. While 5.5 hearts is not exactly lethal territory, it is scary enough. We do have the powder, though, so we will have some opportunities to refill towards the top of the tower.
Yeah, I do believe he still has the blue potion picked up before Meyer as well. So
yes.
A little bit of an extra safety as well.
Okay, and looks like as foretold, we'll use that powder right before Lamulus 2. This refight, of course, is changed slightly if you take the time to use the powder. So Dr. Mario, wisely using a sword spin, will unfortunately have bad flight arcs to work with, but should be able to wrap this up in 2 cycles.
Yeah, I got a nice double spin to begin with. So a mid 2 cycle. When you don't have the normal script, that's pretty good, I would say.
Well, shortly after the hour and 6:20 mark, A-Rod will be getting into go mode with that hammer. We'll probably feel not great about Palace of Darkness before, but we'll be able to complete everything else pretty quickly, all things considered. I don't believe we saw that mushroom out of Dr. Mario. Didn't he go mode, Meyer?
Yeah. And I mean, I think A-Rod has the hammer as well. They must have taken a little bit of a different route. Yeah.
So it looks like Dr. Mario skipped the left side of this dungeon, just hitting the switch and coming back.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways you can do the go mode mire. That being the big difference. Like, do you check that torch chest first or not? A lot of people like to check it first, just in case. If it's a small key, then you know the big key is going to be vanilla.
Well, an interesting chest check for Dr. Mardio right in the last restock room before Moldorm 2 here. Going to get a dash and hopefully a sword spin to clear this out quickly.
Yeah, really nicely done. Just gonna check the last one as well, just in case. Get some silvers, but as we already know, there's no silvers there, but except for the silvers, we're pretty much stocked up and ready for Ganon anyways.
Well, it's always a fun time when you get the vanilla contents of that chest. Dr. Mardio just shy of 1,000, which is actually better for lag than having... I'm sorry, the current count is better for lag than having 1,000.
A-Rod missing the spooky mire a bit there, so he's gonna have to go for the intended strat here instead. And meanwhile, Marty is having a really good Aga fight here. He only needs one more head.
Yeah, all things considered, I believe that was a 3 cycle.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's a perfect.
Or maybe a 4 cycle. Marty getting some extra bonks in there. I'm sure everyone in the fantasy league likes to see that. Getting the numbers down a bit.
Yeah, of course. For those of you who aren't actually in the league Discord server, which you should be, I recommend it. There is actually a mock fantasy league that's going out there with some interesting stat stuff that we cover and look at. Bonks being one of them. So there's some interesting ways that hopefully nobody's changing their playstyle for it, but fun ways to keep track of the runners.
Yeah,
there's a Ganon fight.
For sure. Yeah, it's just for fun. That's the most important thing for these runners, are doing the best they can and just having fun as well. That's what this game is all about, right?
Absolutely, and killing pigs, which Dr. Mardio is about to do. Wow, 1 hour and 10 minutes into phase 3. I gotta say, making a strong opening statement for the spoilers. Dr. Mardio out to a commanding lead for this first race. We'll see if his partner can pull that off, because a sweep this week would be a really strong week 1 for them.
Yeah, both of these teams are looking really strong. The other two members of the spoilers are Zelda and Shady Force, and the other two in the French Canadians is Rywek and Nimban. So it's really strong roster from both of these.
All of which, of course, are names that you were very likely to have seen or remember as mainstays of our main tournament ventures, as well as other side tournaments that have been going on, particularly here in speed gaming.
Marty is doing a good job here of getting the Silverless part of Ganon. Only needs a couple of more heads. Unfortunately, I did miss that one, but that one got a hit, so Ganon is down for Marty. He's going to be finishing out the seed with a really solid time. This is not the types of times you see too often.
Yeah, this is almost in the territory of what you might see in a spoiler race, although maybe a longer one. Well, that will be an official first place time on SRL of 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 45 seconds. Dr. Mardio will take the first win of the series between the two teams.
Yeah, get your GGs in chat. We're going to see if he wants to join us for a little bit of a post-game interview as A-Rod is finishing up his last 2 crystals here as well, and then we're going to head to Ganon's Tower.
Well, it appears we are joined by the victor of the race today, Dr. Mardio, hailing from the spoilers. GG, congratulations. How are you feeling?
Not coming through.
I
One
can hear
sec,
you very
guys.
faintly. Well, we'll have Dr. Mardio back with us in just a moment. In the meantime, we're seeing the swamp completion out of AsclepiosRod with the butter sword, which we did not actually end up seeing out of Dr. Mardio. Which is an exceptionally quick fight. Very easy Argus fight.
Yeah, normal poke here is enough to kill the first buffs here, which we see nicely done here by A-Rod. They get a little bit interrupted, so you just go for slashes for the rest of them.
Well, pretty solid one cycle attempt there, and with unfortunate timing on the silver arrow, won't be able to get that in one go, but a very good recovery with the sword spin, getting the first frame on the second cycle. With that, a short gallivant over to the Helmasaur King fight, as A-Rod's already been there. We'll be able to just go right back to the fight itself and be done with it.
Am I coming through?
Yes, we
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Really good. How are you doing? GG's.
Well, I'm slightly less stressed now, but that was a tough hour, gotta say.
Well, I would say you did really well in this hour. 1 hour heading up to Ganon's Tower, that's gotta feel pretty good, right?
I'll be honest, yeah, I'm really happy with that start of the race, especially for the guys I'm with, because they're really, really good, so I didn't want to let them down, especially in the first race. So yeah, I'm really happy I got such a good time today.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you had solid execution and routing in this, so and of course a really good start for your team, going up against a really strong team as well.
Oh god, yeah, like I knew going into this we were gonna have a tough round one, just looking at the names there, and yeah, I was looking forward to playing against Asclepius because I know how good he is. But yeah, I got very, very lucky routing. Just the places I went to just happened to have the items I wanted, and yeah, like I'm happy with my execution, but I just got really lucky with the routing too.
So I won't ask you to divulge too much of the secrets behind your team's strategy making, but was open mode a specific choice for you, or do you feel strongest in this mode?
Probably the one I'm most comfortable with. Like I wouldn't have actually done many Ambrosia races, to be honest. Open standards kind of more my thing, and yeah, just seemed to make sense then to put me in that place. The other guys are fairly confident no matter where they are, but I just had the slight preference for open mode, I'd say.
Well, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, 5 minutes after your finish, A-Rod is just finishing up the last crystal, and what is actually a very fast pace, as well. 111, just blazing through this. I mean, you got to think this is a great way to set up your teammate who is going to follow you next. Actually, who is the other person racing this week? Do you know?
I believe Zelda will be facing Ninban tomorrow evening, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a hype race.
Yeah, we're all really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that one is tomorrow, and it is confirmed for a restream as well.
Yeah, there's been some major shade thrown in the Discord, so we want to see who can come out on top there. Of course Zelda will, but we want to see how close that Ninban can get to him.
It's one of the things that's a highlight feature of the Link to the Past Randomizer League. The trash talking is real. The icons and the shade and the jokes being made. And I mean, that's why everybody here should get into this Discord. It's a really great time.
Oh yeah, it's good fun, and it's all in good spirit and all good sport and everything, but, you know, we want to come here and show how, how good we can play. appreciate you giving me mad props in the in the stream chat there.
As you should, as you should.
Although I will say the one point I really panicked during the race here was when I was coming into pod, because it had been so long since I go-moded pod that I could not remember for the life of me if I needed the big key or not. And I was debating whether I should just run down, but I thought, no, Asclepios could be right ahead of me or right behind me, and I can't lose that time.
Yeah, you guys were definitely neck and neck for parts of this run. You took a little bit of a different routing, but most of the times you guys just ended up trading places and clearing the stuff the other one just did. Both of you actually left a major item for a while. You left the mirror when you cleared out the Skullwoods, and A-Rod actually left the flippers in desert. As soon as he got the moon pearl, he left. So, what was your thoughts about that? You made a pretty good routing on coming back to the mirror again.
Yeah, I knew there was going to be an item in there that that I had to come back to, and I knew it would be easy to get to, but I thought it'd be more likely the progression would be up in the Hookshot Cave area and Death Mountain area, because there's so many items up there that it's definitely the place I thought would be most likely, but then of course there was nothing up there. So when I went back down that time, I intended to get the item out of Thieves and then go around, do the south route and head around to Pod, but then the other items I needed just kind of showed up and dictated where I went next.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. 125 collection rate when I won 11 times. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's probably one of my best runs ever, to be honest. So, you know, don't worry, this isn't the absolute standard for me. This is definitely on the upper side of the normal distribution.
Hey, you'd rather have it during a league race, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Well, speaking of that, are there any other weeks coming up ahead that you really got your eye on? Things you're probably practicing harder for than anything else?
Probably practicing a bit more for the cross keys because I'm new enough to it. It's an interesting mode and a much longer mode than I'm used to. So that's what I'm definitely thinking I have to up my game, especially when I see the likes of. I usually watch Andy's videos online to kind of get ideas of good routing and good tech, and then think, wow, I suck so bad.
I can definitely relate. Did a first multi cross keys recently, and that was definitely my mental process for most of it. So I think that's something that a lot of us are going to be practicing really hard to get ready for. Another thing I've been keeping an eye out for is co-op. Those are going to be some interesting experiences, something that I think a lot of people don't get a chance to see.
Yeah, the co-ops, they're actually really fun modes as well, because it's similar to the spoiler logs. We kind of like it because it's quick and it's communal and it's more strategy involved and much more execution focused than hoping you'll find an item somewhere and then half an hour hunt for an ice rod or a medallion or something. So it's definitely one that we're looking forward to playing.
Well, you'll definitely have a lot of time to practice any of the remaining settings, as early in this first week you have secured your victory. So you get the chance to, well, you've earned actually a brief respite week to get yourself ready for the next week of gameplay, whether you're in it or not. Definitely congratulations on getting that long break. It's got to feel good to win on a Monday.
Yeah, it's good. I get to the rest now and to practice the rest of the modes, and yeah, I'm relieved now. I can go to sleep happy.
Well, looks like we are almost wrapped up with the seed. AsclepiosRod's climbing up GT right now, and I'm sure we'll want to have a quick word with him. Any final words you'd like to share with your fans out there, Dr. Mardio, while we still have you on the mic?
don't know if I'd have fans per se, but to the 2 or 3 people that do follow my channel, thanks. I don't know what you're doing there, but thanks. But no, I'm looking forward to the rest of the league a lot. There's some really interesting modes coming up, and I'm on a great team here, so I'm really hoping that we can do well and I can, you know, keep up the standard. And again, thanks to you guys for streaming this race. It's actually quite an honor to have the first race, well, one of the first races of the tournament restreamed on SG1, and yeah, really good time. Thanks very much.
Well, I'm sure your teammates feel that they have a good team as well after watching this performance. And of course, folks, if you haven't had an opportunity to yet or haven't seen these two run, they put on a fantastic show for us today, and it'd be a great honor for you guys to head on over to their Twitch channels, give them a follow, check to see what else they got going on. This is definitely a great way to get to know more runners, seeing them here to restream and then poking in to say hi when you see them online. Well, you're welcome to stick around with us if you'd like. We would like to, of course, cheer AsclepiosRod on through the rest of this seed, not opting to give any free fantasy points, or I guess give away any, as we like to joke around. Forfeits having some bearing on that. Maybe just personal pride. I don't want to speak for him necessarily. We'll get to find out here in a little bit.
I haven't actually had time to look into the fantasy much. Is there like different points going for like time finished, for collection rate, for those kind of things?
Yeah, pretty much all of that, including bonking and like what sword you have on bosses and stuff like that, and awards different kinds of points.
Oh wait, so my bonking there at AGA 2 actually affected
Yeah.
the fantasy league?
Potentially, yes. But I mean, it's just for fun, so I wouldn't recommend people going out of their way and like trying stuff they're uncomfortable with and stuff like that just to raise their score. Just play and have fun and try to do your best for your team, and the rest is just secondary.
Yeah, of course.
Do you guys think the knockback from cactuses counts as a bonk? Asking for a friend.
I think we're going by the official number of bonks in the credits, so I don't think that counts as a bonk according to the credits, but I'm not sure actually.
Well, as you mentioned, definitely a for fun thing, but interesting to keep track of. A lot of these, I think I've personally seen like 3 different fantasy leagues formed since we saw the initial rules proposal for how to set one up, and I think it's a really exciting way to get people who aren't racing on the stream itself involved in the action. Being that there are 64 teams this year, which is astounding. Definitely fun to have more involved with it.
Yeah, for sure. 64 teams means we have everyone facing off each other twice each week. So it's 64 league races going on every week. We're not going to be able to restream them all, but we're definitely going to try and get as many as we can. And speaking of, we have a lot of racers still yet to go today. Let's see, A-Rod taking care of Moldorm without any issues whatsoever, and it's gonna head over to AGA 2 here, and then it's just Ganon left. It does have the silver arrows as well, which was in the pod big chest.
And then where did the lamp turn up?
Lamp was actually on Lake Hylia Island.
Wow.
Which we saw really early from A-Rod doing a bit of water walking over to Hobo, where he also got the last sword, which ended up being his second sword.
So much I could have gotten.
Well, that's the thing when the seed is fast, right? You end up skipping some of those more like safeties and quality items. As long as you have what you need to complete the seed, that's fine, right? It looked like you were doing really well in the dark rooms and with the equipment you had.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with the dark rooms with most of them anyway. The only one I wouldn't be very comfortable with would be Aga Tower, but it hasn't really come up so far, and I'm hoping it won't.
I mean, the good news there is you can technically light a torch.
That's if you had the fire rod, so yeah, the fire rod here made things much easier, especially for the mini Helma room and pod. Otherwise, that can be hit or miss.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever want to do that with the turtle room in particular. Well, speaking of items, AsclepiosRod walking into this Ganon fight with about as ideal of an equip as you can get, besides maybe red mail. Gold sword, silver arrows. This should be very quick work.
Yeah, Gold Sword only needs 6 hits for phase 1 and 2. So getting that without any problems whatsoever here. So it's already into phase 3. And with those silvers, only going to need 4 hits there. So that one is probably not going to be too much of an issue as well.
Ganon Warp's not being the friendliest, but certainly not being unwelcoming.
And shoutouts, by the way, to our tracker for today, Mafgirl, and to all our volunteers who have signed up so far. As we said, we're trying to restream as many races as we seem doable, and that definitely would not be possible without all the fantastic volunteers helping out.
Yeah, I'm sure for the admins and for the mods, it must have been really amazing to see the response to 64 teams sign up. But the fact that we're even able to put on these races really speaks to how many people are involved behind the scenes. Well, it looks like that'll be a finish for AsclepiosRod, wrapping up this race with official SRL time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 55 seconds. GG's in chat, folks.
Yeah, get your GGs in, and it looks like we have him ready for a post-game interview as well. So let's see what he has to say about this.
And we are joined by AsclepiosRod. GG.
Thanks, GG Doc.
GG Doc. Really good race.
So we saw an allusion to that in the file names. Both of you doctors, it sounds like.
Yep. Probably not the same kind, but that's good. He's a real doctor. I'm a fake one.
I thought the medical doctor was the real doctor. I thought I was the fake doctor. I'm so confused now.
I know. Medical doctors like to pretend that they're real doctors, but they're the fake ones. They just don't accept it.
folks, as long as there's no fake powder, we're good.
Well said.
Well, so this was still a pretty fast completion, all things considered. Hey, Rod, how are you feeling about this race? I still think you went
just not there. My execution was terrible, so I forgot the flippers in desert, and I was, oh, fudge, I forgot the flippers. I forgot the torch. And then when I went back, I just said, oh, all those jacks I should have done. And I didn't, because I was playing so badly, I was, oh, I'll go get the lamp on the way because I don't trust myself with Meyer, and I skipped the hammer like this. So, things happen.
Well, Walter had mentioned it previously when we were talking to Dr. Mardio about it, that both of you had left behind a real key item, and eventually ended up stumbling back into it at the right times, with you being the flippers, as you mentioned, Dr. Mardio, the mirror. So those didn't end up being the big issue. As you mentioned, the hammer, the ultimate pain, I guess, to deal with. So I wanted to ask you, what was the reason that you had held off on going into Meyer earlier?
I was just playing so badly that I didn't trust myself at doing the dark room in Meyer. So I was, oh, I know where the lamp is. I just got flippers. I need to do all those stacks that I just missed on with those flippers. So I said, let's go check this, because if that's there, I'm screwed. And I decided to skip Meyer because of that.
That makes a lot of sense, because we had seen you going across the northern dark world, and at the time it felt kind of like unfathomable to us that you were going just for pod, and as it turned out, you did, the catfish, Zora chain. We were talking about the whole race, these are all sensible decisions. We just happened to have known, thanks to like an early Meyer on Dr. Mardio's side, that it didn't end up being the right thing. Well, I think it's really exciting to see just the kind of decision making that both of you guys had in this race, because all of those are sound choices, and that makes both of you very exciting opponents for anybody else who's looking forward to week 2 through 7. So I think you put out a great display today.
Thanks. I wish that I didn't see that lamp, to be honest. I would have gone in Meyer if I didn't know the lamp was there. A big GG to Dr. Marty, and I will look forward to see your next matches.
Yeah, thanks very much. Likewise, and we'll have to see how our teammates get on now tomorrow evening.
Yep. Probably have something to solve from the main tournament, so.
Yes, I've heard whispers.
There are murmurs of some grudge matches going on here.
Yeah, tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. the next match between the French Canadians and the Spoilers are squaring up on the same channel as today, with Nimbana and Salgadison facing each other. But we also have a lot of matches going on today. I think we have one that's already started on Speed Gaming 5 with Team Himi and Shovel is a True Go mode. And then after that, I think we have like 7 matches or something today. So if you like that, definitely check out Speed Gaming 1 through 6. And there's also league channels that have some restreams that SG cannot if they don't have time for it. So that's a link to the past our league, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have 3 different races going on at 8 p.m. today Eastern Time. That's just barely over 2 hours from now. And one of those will be on ALTTPR League Twitch page. So if you want to catch all of the league action going on, I mean, this is just a taste of it, you know, in this last couple of hours. A big chunk of restream happening in just a few. If you're not already sticking around to watch the next 2 matches at 5:30 and 6:30.
Yeah, so GG's to both our runners again. You guys have any last final thoughts about the seed or your teams or just the league in general?
Well, I've had my say already, so I give the last words to Asclepios to close out. But just thanks again, guys, for the commentary, and thanks to Mathgar for the tracking as well.
I'll say going in band for tomorrow. But thanks to all 3 of you for commentating and
Well, it's certainly our pleasure.
Well, I guess this is it for us tonight. Make sure to check out the other games if you want more rando. And yeah, thanks Math Girl again for tracking, and Yudai joining me on comms. I'll give you the final words here.
Well, it's an early start to the league. We've had exciting matches already. 6 more weeks of even more zany action. If you're only tuning in for this matchup for some reason, I definitely recommend watching the rest of this week. We'll get to see these 2 runners again, whether they're up against each other, say in the playoffs, or maybe just up against other opponents. So keep your eyes peeled. Lots of Link to the Past randomizer ahead of us. And yeah, as we'll see the final stats scroll across, I've been Uday Monistic, joined today by Walther. Thank you for tuning in, folks, and we will see you next time.